Hello and welcome. Today we're going to discuss the porphyrin and hemoglobin synthesis pathway, which is a very long expression for O2, getting oxygen into our cells. So to work with the hemoglobin pathway, we must get our Krebs cycle working first of all. Once the Krebs cycle is working and running properly, there's an area called succinyl-CoA. And once we've got to this point, we can now start improving the oxygen pathway in the body. So for the hemoglobin to work properly, there is a formula for it. We require enough B6. The ideal B6 is called P5P or pyridoxal 5-phosphate. This one has the most benefits in terms of correcting codons in the body and is amazing for our hormone pathway and for our liver to work properly. When we have enough B6, only then we will be able to absorb B9 from our foods or from our supplements. So this is commonly known as folic acid. However, it is shown that folinic acid or folates absorb much better in the body. So generally people will go for folinic acid rather than folic acid. But anyway, it is your B9. B9 is most commonly spoke about amongst expecting mothers. However, B9 is absolutely crucial for our homocysteine pathway to work in the liver. So this is the one that can cause clots in the body if we don't have this working right. Whereas if we have enough B9, this pathway tends to work very well. So when you have enough B6 and you're absorbing your B9 really good, now the body can absorb B12 much better. B12 is generally absorbed in the duodenum, which is the third part of our small intestine. If this is inflamed or there's some parasites in the body or we're eating foods that don't suit us, we can have some serious problems with B12. Now B12 is amazingly important in our body. If we don't have enough B12, we tend to have a lot of neurological problems. It is probably the number one go-to if you're suffering any kind of neurological issues because there's most probably a deficiency in B12. However, to absorb it, you must have your B6 and your B9, and then we get onto the B12s. And there's a few different types of B12. There's adenocobalamin, methylcobalamin, and hydroxycobalamin. I find that I tend to use the adeno and methylcobalamin mixture, and that seems to work very well. So there are slight differences, but either way, your B12s are very important. So when we've got the three of these lined up, your B6, your B9, your B12, now we can absorb iron. Up till this point, the body will not be able to absorb iron properly, and we do get enough iron in our diet. Definitely in an Irish diet, or it's high in iron. But people can be very commonly anemic. So when you go to your doctor and you are feeling very low in energy and low in general, and you go to the doctor and they tell you that you're anemic. So that's all, you're just anemic, everything else is fine. But then you take your iron and you notice you're not particularly getting any better, or as long as you take the iron, but then iron can cause constipation and other issues. So it's very hard to take iron. Some people have to take a lot of vitamin C. Probably your vitamin C is going to do much more for you actually. So what do we do? So if you're low in iron, yes, you most certainly need it, but we got to look into the deeper picture here as to why you're not absorbing the iron, and it's much more likely to be on your B vitamin pathway that you're missing it. If a person is consistently anemic, it's much more likely they have worms, the parasites in the large intestine. Our large intestine, the purpose of our large intestine is to absorb water back out, and it's also where we absorb the iron for the body. So if there's inflammation in the large intestine or the flora fauna isn't quite right there, then we're not absorbing the iron back in. So usually iron is a large intestine issue. So then we need to look at a large intestine and what goes wrong there. So a few other points on the porphyrin and hemoglobin synthesis pathway is that this is the most common pathway where people with neurological issues tend to be stuck. People who have addictions, alcohol and drug addictions, tend to have issues here, and most unfortunate lithium-based drugs tend to block this pathway. So there's a bit of a cycle that can happen here, and it's very important that we get people through this. And it's really simple from the kinesiology point of view. We ensure the person has B6, B9, B12, and you'll find that iron is working just fine. And once that iron is working fine, the entire point of this pathway is that means oxygen is being carried around the body properly. Oxygen is the ultimate nutrient. It is the nutrient. It is the reason we take minerals, we take our vitamins. Different areas of the body require different pH and different sort of food to get the oxygen in. When a cell has oxygen, it is a healthy cell. It means that it is maintained very well, then it's able to clone itself very well, and the initial cell is able to die off and clear very well. And that is exactly what we're looking for. When this is not working properly, unfortunately, the cells don't die off properly. They get sticky and stuck and can metastasize. And then we have much bigger tumor issues building up for later on. We really don't want this. We want everything to be running really clearly and that all the cells are dying off when they need to die off, but they're building themselves stronger every single time they replicate. That's what we're aiming for.